6:47 in the morning. Elizabeth Mensah was jogging through the back streets of Busan. Earphones in, pace steady. The city was still half asleep. Then she saw the van. It wasn't the van that stopped her. It was the boy, 4 years old. Small hands pressed flat against the back window, eyes locked onto hers. Not screaming, not crying, just looking at her with the kind of desperation that doesn't need words. Elizabeth pulled out her earphones. 2 motorbikes were parked outside a provision store across the road. Keys still in the ignition. She looked at the van, looked at the bikes, looked back at the boy. 3 seconds. She made her decision. Because that is who Elizabeth Mensah is. And because of what happened next, neither her life nor the life of the most dangerous man in Busan would ever be the same again. But before we go any further, you need to understand who this woman is. Not just what she did that morning, but what she was carrying inside her when she did it. Elizabeth Akosua Mensah. Born and raised in Accra, Ghana. She married young, a good man, a quiet life. And more than anything in this world, Elizabeth wanted to be a mother. She wanted it the way some people want air. But something strange happened. The first miscarriage came quietly. The doctors told her it was common. It happens. Try again. She tried again. The second one broke something in her she never fully named out loud. The third, the fourth. She buried it all. 3 years of marriage, 4 pregnancies, 0 children. Then the medical verdict arrived like a door slamming shut. She was barren. Her body would never carry a child to term. Not now. Not ever. Her husband could not hold that grief. And grief, when 2 people carry it differently, becomes a wedge. The divorce was quiet, civilized, devastating. She signed the papers on a Tuesday. She went back to work on Wednesday. Because that is also who Elizabeth Mensah is. 32 years old, no child, no marriage, no map for what came next. Her uncle, Colonel Joseph Mensah, had been stationed in Busan, South Korea for years. Military through and through, the most solid person in her world. She called him. He said, "Come." She came. Somewhere between the pain of Accra and the discipline of a military base in Busan, Elizabeth rebuilt herself brick by brick. She learned Korean faster than anyone expected, not just the language, the Busan dialect, the rhythm, the inflection, as if her brain needed something completely new to hold on to. She joined the military corps attached to her uncle's base, calm under pressure, sharp instincts, the kind of soldier you want when everything goes sideways. By the morning of this story, she had been in Busan just over 1 year, 33 years old, same jogging route every single morning, until the van. 6:47 a.m. Busan side streets. Elizabeth doesn't panic. She assesses. She walks, calm, unhurried, to the nearest motorbike, swings her leg over, starts the engine, pulls into traffic, follows the van at a distance, not too close, watching. The van slows, parks at an empty lot at the edge of a quiet street. Both men climb out laughing, relaxed, walking to a nearby shop to buy drinks. These men believe the job is done. They are celebrating. The boy is alone in the back. Elizabeth kills the engine, moves on foot, low, quiet, tactical. She reaches the van. One look through the glass, a little boy, curled against the back seat, trembling, cheeks wet, eyes wide. He sees her face. His whole body goes still. She takes one breath, positions herself. One sharp, controlled elbow. The glass shatters. She reaches in, lifts him out in one smooth motion, pulls him against her chest. And then, without even thinking, she whispers in Korean, "Gwenkana, nega waseo. Gwenkana. It's okay. I am here. It's okay." Minseo stopped trembling, just like that. Something in her voice told him what his eyes could not yet confirm. She was safe. He didn't know her face. He didn't know her name. But a 4-year-old boy curled into her chest and held on. She got back on the motorbike. Min-seo held securely against her, and she rode. Now, one detail you need to know, because it matters more than anything else in this story. How did Min-seo end up in that van? The kidnappers had been patient. They approached him at his school gate that morning. Friendly faces, easy smiles. "Your father sent us to pick you up today." A 4-year-old trusts what sounds familiar. He went willingly. But inside the van, the story changed. "We are taking you to your mother. She misses you so much. She sent us specially for you." His mother, the woman he had never properly known. Hold that detail, because we are coming back to it. And when we do, everything you think you understand about this story is going to completely shift. If you are already hooked, drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done if you saw that boy in the van window? And don't forget to subscribe. This story is only getting started. Now let me tell you about the man whose son was in that van. His name is Lim Hyun-soo. And in Busan, that name means something. 28 years old, running a criminal empire with the precision of a legitimate businessman. Tailored suits, cold eyes, the kind of handsome that makes people uncomfortable because it doesn't match what he is capable of. He had one softness, one, Min-seo. On the morning his son was taken, his entire empire meant nothing. Every guard, every resource, every connection he had built over years. None of it had stopped a 4-year-old from disappearing through a school gate. So he was driving himself, through back streets, through main roads, because stillness was unbearable, and power, in that moment, felt like a lie. He was on a quiet road on the edge of the city when he saw them. A motorbike, a woman, a small boy with both arms wrapped tight around her waist, holding on like he never intended to let go. Hyun-soo stopped the car so hard the tires complained. He was out of the door before the engine died. Min-seo looked up. "Abba!" Hyun-soo crossed that road and dropped to his knees right there on the asphalt, both hands on his son's face, checking, eyes, neck, arms. His voice came out rough and fractured in a way his guards had never heard before. "Min-seo야, 괜찮나? 애 어디 다친 데 없나?" "민서야, 괜찮나?" "아빠, 무서웠어. 나 많이 무서웠단 말이야." "괜찮다. 아빠 왔잖아. 이제 괜찮아." He pulled the boy against his chest, held him there, one long breath. Then Min-seo said something that made Hyun-soo go completely still. "그 아저씨들이 엄마한테 데려간다 했어." "Those men said they were taking me to mommy." Hyun-soo's jaw tightened. His eyes went cold for exactly 1 second. Then he blinked, and the softness came back. For his son. Only for his son. He stood, turned to the woman still, sitting on the motorbike. He spoke in Korean, assuming she understood nothing. "아 여자는 누구?" "Who is this woman?" "모르겠어 아빠. 근데 유리 개구나 꺼내줬어." "I don't know, Daddy, but she broke the glass and took me out." Hyun-soo switched to English. Cold, flat, commanding. "Come with me." The woman looked at him. "No." He blinked. In his entire adult life, in every room, every negotiation, every confrontation, nobody had ever said no to Lim Hyun-soo like that. Not casually. Not like it was simply the most obvious answer available. She continued, completely unmoved. "I saved your son. That is all. There is no need for me to follow you anywhere. I am only doing what I was trained to do. We are done here." She turned the motorbike, ready to leave. Then Min-seo moved, slowly, deliberately. He walked to the woman and wrapped both small hands around 2 of her fingers, just held them, a gentle pull. nothing more. Elizabeth looked down at those tiny fingers, then up at Hyun-soo, then back at the boy. She exhaled once through her nose. Fine, let us go. In the car, Hyun-soo driving, Elizabeth in the passenger seat, Min-seo already drifting towards sleep between them. Silence filled every corner of that vehicle. Hyun-soo muttered under his breath, half to himself, still in Korean. Jeo yoja nugunji alabayagen네. Susanghada. I need to find out who this woman is. Something feels suspicious. A beat of silence. Then, from the passenger seat. Quiet. Measured. In perfect Busan dialect. 수상한 없습니다요. 그냥 아이가 위험해 보여서요. Nothing suspicious. I simply saw a child in danger. Hyun-soo's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He turned his head slowly. She was staring straight ahead at the road, not even looking at him. The smallest trace of something at the corner of her lips. She had understood every single word. From the moment he opened his mouth on that street. He faced forward again, said nothing, because there was nothing to say. The Lim mansion sits on elevated ground on the outskirts of Busan. Iron gates, stone walls, armed guards at every entry point. The kind of place that doesn't announce wealth, it announces consequence. When the car pulled through those gates, Elizabeth's eyes were already working. Exit points, camera angles, guard rotation patterns. Not paranoia, just what her training does automatically in unfamiliar spaces. Before she had fully stepped out of the car, 10 men appeared, stone-faced, surrounding her in a tight formation without a single word. Elizabeth stood completely still, arms loose at her sides, breathing even. She had already identified the fastest exit. One word from Hyun-soo, Bikyo, and every single guard stepped back in unison. Inside, long table, cold lighting, Hyun-soo across from her. He leaned forward, hands flat on the table, eyes steady on her face. Tell me everything that happened, exactly as it occurred. Elizabeth gave him a soldier's account. The van, the motorbikes, the broken window, the extraction, clean, precise, chronological. No embellishment, no emotion attached to any of it. She said nothing about herself, nothing about Accra, nothing about what she had lost or why a child's hands against glass had moved her faster than any order ever could. Strong women who have been through enough learn to offer only what is necessary. Hyun-soo listened without interrupting, then stood, moved to the cabinet, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, the expensive kind. He slid one across the table toward her without asking. Drink with me. Elizabeth looked at the glass, then stood, chair scraping back. I do not drink alcohol. Not apologetic, not soft, just a fact, delivered, clean. She picked up her jacket from the back of the chair. I saved your son. We are finished here. Good night, Mr. She paused. She had never asked his name. Something behind his eyes shifted. Not amusement exactly. Something quieter than that. Lim. Hyun-soo Lim. Good night, Mr. Lim. She walked out. Back straight. Unhurried. Through the door, past the guards, down the steps, leaving the most powerful man in Busan standing alone in his own home holding 2 glasses of whiskey. And then she did something nobody in that mansion had ever done after a meeting with Lim Hyun-soo. She jogged home, still in her running clothes from that morning, through the Busan night, like none of it had happened. Like she had not just broken into a moving operation, extracted a child from armed kidnappers, and walked out of a criminal mansion on her own terms. Back inside the mansion, Hyun-soo stood at the window, watching the dark street where she had disappeared into the night. His guard approached carefully. Sabone diragayo, bosu. Should we send a car for her, boss? A long pause. Gunyang Dweo. Leave her. He kept watching. And then, quiet and private, with nobody in the room to see it, a smile crossed his face. Small, real, the kind a man wears when something has genuinely surprised him for the first time in years. Nuguya Jeo Yoja. Who on earth is that woman? Not a question anymore. More like the beginning of an answer he already knew was going to cost him something. The next morning at the Lim Mansion, bright kitchen, warm light, Mrs. Kim's best breakfast spread across the table. Min-seo sat with his arms crossed. Favorite food untouched. Hyun-soo set his coffee down slowly. Min-seo, eat. Silheo, no. Why? Gu onni deryowa. Gurumyan mogulge. Bring the lady back. Then I will eat. Hyun-soo looked at his son for a long moment. 4 years old, arms still crossed, chin slightly raised. The stubbornness was, unfortunately, entirely familiar. He said nothing, because there was nothing to say to that. Min-seo waited at the front window for the rest of the morning, 11 a.m., 9 a.m., noon. He watched the gate with the patience of someone who has decided the outcome already and is simply waiting for the world to catch up. She did not come. By afternoon, he had stopped watching the gate and started drawing instead. Quiet, self-contained, the kind of quiet that is louder than noise. Meanwhile, across the city, Elizabeth was running drills at the base harder than usual. Longer distances, heavier sets. The kind of physical punishment people inflict on themselves when their thoughts need somewhere to go. She had changed her jogging route that morning, deliberately. She told herself it was practical. She told herself a lot of things. That evening, her uncle sat her down. Colonel Joseph Mensah did not begin with warnings. He began with a story. A businessman who got too close to Hyun-soo's orbit, not even intentionally, and lost his family for it. A lawyer who represented someone loosely connected to that world, disappeared for 3 weeks, came back a different person, never practiced law again. These are not stories, Elizabeth. These are real people, real consequences from simply being near that world. His voice dropped. The soldier left his face completely. The father stayed. What you did, saving that child, that was brave and right, and I am proud of you, deeply. But those kidnappers you stopped will find out who interfered. And when they do, they will come looking. If you are inside that mansion when they come, they will think I am part of his world. Exactly. He reached across the table and placed his large hand over hers. You have already been through enough pain for 3 lifetimes, my daughter. I cannot watch you walk into a burning building when I can already see the fire from here. Elizabeth looked at his hand over hers, said nothing for a while. Then she nodded once. You are right. I know you are right. She went to bed that night, having made the sensible decision. She repeated it to herself until sleep came. Approximately 47 times. The third morning, gray Busan sky, cool air. Elizabeth laced up her running shoes and took the longer route, the one that looped around the harbor and added 15 minutes and kept her far from any road a black luxury car might travel. She was 40 minutes in, breathing steady, head clear for the first time in days. Then the longer route, the careful, deliberate, sensible longer route, curved around a quiet side street near the water, and a familiar black car appeared traveling in the opposite direction. Elizabeth's stomach dropped before her brain caught up. She kept her pace, face forward, eyes ahead, almost past. From inside the car, a small voice detonated. Abba, Jogi, Jeo Onia, Tasewo. Daddy, there, it is the lady. Stop the car. The car stopped. Elizabeth closed her eyes for exactly half a second. Of course, the door opened. Hyun-soo stepped out, morning light hitting the side of his face. No suit today, just dark clothing, car keys still in his hand. He looked like a man who had not slept cleanly. They stood facing each other on the empty street. He spoke first, and what came out was not a command, not the boardroom coldness, something that had clearly cost him something to prepare. Whatever you have heard about me, whatever you know about my world, I understand why you stayed away. He held her gaze. But you are safe around me, completely. Whatever my world is, it will never touch you. I will make sure of that personally. Nobody in this city will bring trouble to your door, not while I am standing. He glanced back at the car. Min-seo's entire face was flattened against the passenger window, both palms on the glass, waving with everything his small body had. Come to the house, not for me. Come for him. Elizabeth looked at that little face in the window. A child who had waited all day at a gate, who pushed away his favorite food. A child who already knew, in the way that children know things before they have words for them, what it felt like to wait for someone who wasn't coming back. She looked back at Hyun-soo. I have conditions. He waited. Still, no interruption. I come and go as I please. No guards following me. I am not part of your world, and I will not be used in it. When I say I am leaving, I leave. No questions asked. Agreed, agreed, agreed. No hesitation between any of them. She exhaled once, short and quiet. I will come this evening, after my duties. Something crossed his face briefly, there and gone before she could name it. Thank you. Elizabeth put one earphone back in. You are going to be late for school, Mr. Lim. And she jogged away down the road. In the car behind her, Min-seo threw both fists into the air. Ondae, aber onde go heso, nega alastago. She is coming. Daddy, she said she is coming. I knew it. Hyun-soo pulled back into traffic. Quiet. Anjon Beltume. Buckle up. But the smile was already there. He didn't bother hiding it. That evening, Elizabeth walked into the dining room and stopped moving. The smell reached her before anything else did. Jollof rice, fried plantain, ground nut soup with chicken. The specific combination that meant Sunday mornings in her mother's kitchen in Accra. The smell of a life she had packed into a single bag and left behind. She stood there for 3 full seconds before she trusted herself to move again. He had researched Ghanaian cuisine. For a woman he had met twice, who had refused his whiskey and jogged away in the dark. Neither of them acknowledged it directly. They both knew. Neither said so. At dinner, Min-seo positioned himself between them with the confidence of someone who had planned the seating arrangement in advance. He ate with complete dedication, declared fried plantain the greatest food ever created, announced formally that he intended to visit Ghana, looked at Elizabeth and asked with complete seriousness whether Ghana had lava floors. Elizabeth laughed, really laughed, open and unguarded, head tilting back slightly, the laugh of a woman who had forgotten for one moment to protect herself from joy. Hyun-soo looked away quickly when she turned back toward the table, not quickly enough. After dinner, Min-seo spread his school drawings across the coffee table one by one. Careful, deliberate, saving the last one. He placed it down slowly. 3 crayon figures, a tall one in a dark suit, a small, round-headed one in the middle, a tall, dark-skinned figure with a full, natural afro on the right. All 3 holding hands. That is Daddy. That is me. And that is you. I drew it at school today. My teacher asked who the tall lady was. The room went quiet. What did you tell her? Elizabeth asked. Carefully. Min-seo was already reaching for another crayon, completely unbothered by the weight of what he had just placed on that table. I told her she was mine. Sit closer. I need to see your face properly for the next one. Elizabeth arrived at 6 p.m. She looked at her watch at 9:30 and her eyes went wide. 3.5 hours. Gone. Like vapor. She stood to leave. Minseo wrapped both arms around her leg without looking up from his drawing. No words. Just grip. She gently loosened his hands, held them for a moment. I will come back. He looked up at her with the specific, ancient, unblinking evaluation that only very small children and very old people are capable of. Then he nodded once. Let go. Like he had decided to trust her with something precious and was noting carefully that he had done so. That drawing is going to matter more than you think. Stay with me, because the next scene is where this story shifts completely, and you do not want to miss it. Like this video, if you are still here, it genuinely helps more people find this story. A few days into the new rhythm, the mansion had changed. Not in structure, not in the armed guards at the gates, or the cold marble floors, or the security cameras sweeping every corner. All of that stayed exactly the same. But the sound of it changed. Laughter lived in it now, small and specific and real. That particular evening, the living room floor had been completely transformed. Sofa cushions arranged in a precise obstacle course. Mrs. Kim's best serving tray repurposed as a final checkpoint platform. The rules, as explained very seriously by Min So, were non-negotiable. One touch of the floor, and you were consumed by lava instantly. There were no exceptions, not even for adults. Elizabeth was on her stomach, crawling across 2 cushions with complete commitment. Min Seo directing from the safety of the armchair, which he had declared the official volcano command center. She reached the final cushion, stood, both arms up, and laughed. That laugh, open and free, and completely undefended. Head tilting back, eyes disappearing into it. Every wall she had built over 3 years of grief and discipline and deliberate distance, gone, just gone, like they had never existed. Hyun-soo had come to call them for dinner. He stopped in the doorway. He did not call them. He just stood there, watching. And something happened to his face that he had no control over whatsoever, because he had seen that laugh before, on another face, a long time ago. In the beginning, before everything curdled. Nare, in those first months, would play with Min-so on this same floor and laugh with her whole body exactly like that. Exactly. The same tilt, the same disappearing eyes. Before resentment replaced everything else in her. Before she decided that what she deserved and what she had were 2 different things. Before she became the version of herself that looked at their son and saw a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. He stood in that doorway and felt 2 things simultaneously. The ghost of something he had already grieved and deliberately closed. And something else entirely. Something that had nothing to do with the past. Something that was only and specifically about the woman on his living room floor right now. Her particular laugh, her specific stubbornness, the way she had whispered Korean to a terrified child without thinking, the way she had walked out of his mansion in the dark without looking back. He did not have a clean name for it yet, but it was already too late to pretend it wasn't there. Elizabeth's eyes swept the room the way they always did. Automatic. Then she turned toward the doorway. Their eyes met. Hyun-soo, completely unguarded in a way she had never once seen, looking at her like she was something that both healed and broke him at the exact same time. Elizabeth recognized that look. She had worn it herself. In hospital rooms. In the quiet after each loss. The look of someone reaching toward warmth and bracing for it to disappear. That was the problem. She knew exactly what that look cost a person. Min Seo spun around in the command chair. Abba, boaseo, elri jabasuga yongam gonoso. Amhodo 완벽하게 말했어. Gimchi joropu. Daddy! Did you see? Elizabeth crossed the lava. She said the password perfectly. Kimchi jollof. Hyun-soo looked at his son, blinked twice, coming back to himself from somewhere far. Jonyog myogol siganida. It is time for dinner. He turned and walked back to the dining room first. Neither of them said anything about the doorway. They didn't need to. That night, after Min-seo was asleep, after Elizabeth had gone, after the mansion settled back into its usual cold silence, Hyun-soo sat alone in his private study. One lamp in the corner, the city spread out through the floor-to-ceiling window. One bottle of whiskey on the desk, one glass beside it, both untouched. He sat with his thoughts and let them arrive without managing them, which was not something he did. Ever. Lim Hyun-soo managed everything. Rooms, people, outcomes, information. Control was not a habit. It was a belief system. But tonight, he let it all come. He built every possible approach, every angle. He was direct by nature. He had walked into rooms that terrified grown men and spoken first, spoken clearly, spoken without apology. He could tell her exactly what he felt, precise and unambiguous. Then he imagined her face, that steady, unblinking gaze, and he heard, with complete clarity in her exact voice, "I think it is time for me to stop coming here." She would say it without drama. She would mean every syllable, and she would jog home in the dark and change her route, and that would be the end of it. So, say nothing. Safer. Cleaner. But he had never once in his life chosen safe when he wanted something. That was not who he was either. He stared at the city lights for a long time. Then a quieter thought arrived. Not a strategy, not an angle, just a truth sitting plainly in the middle of everything else. Why would she want this? He was 28 years old, running a criminal empire. His last relationship had ended in a calculated humiliation, one he had engineered himself, coldly, because Nare had made herself his enemy, and he had responded the way he responded to all enemies. He had turned the mother of his own child into the most dangerous threat in his orbit. Why would a woman who had survived enough pain for 3 lifetimes voluntarily walk deeper into this world? He sat with that question. Then Min-seo's voice came back to him. From earlier that week. Small and matter-of-fact the way children are when they accidentally say the truest thing in the room. Elricha besunun an museo waheo. Yongamdo kononende. Elricha besunun an museo waheo. Yongamdo, a van window, and reached for a complete stranger. No calculation, no context. Just pure instinct towards something real. Children do not perform that. They cannot. They only feel what is actually true. Min-seo had decided in 30 seconds. Maybe that was the only answer worth trusting. Hyun-soo pushed the untouched glass to the side, stood, looked at the city below. Elizabeth Mensah, you are going to be the most complicated thing I have ever chosen. A pause, long and quiet. I am choosing anyway. He turned off the lamp. For the first time in a very long time, his mind did not run when he closed his eyes. She had stopped coming, changed her jogging route again, longer hours at the base. She told herself it was the right call. She had seen the doorway. She knew precisely what it meant and where it led and what it would eventually cost her. Her answer was no. Day 1, without her. Min-seo at the front window, watching the gate with that same patient certainty. Day 2, pushing food around his plate in a silence that filled the entire kitchen. Day 3. He climbed into Hyun-soo's lap that evening, settled there. Then, in a very small voice, Abba, Iomasorium Babangoya? Daddy. Is she busy like Mommy was busy? That sentence landed in the room like something dropped from a great height. Hyun-soo pulled his son closer, kept his voice even. Ania, 그런 거 아니야. No, it is not like that. 그럼 왜 안 와? Then why does she not come? 무서운 게 있어서. Because she is afraid of something. Minseo considered this with the deep seriousness he applied to important matters. Then he patted his father's hand twice, steady and certain. 괜찮아, 아빠. 나 어두운 거 무서운데 김 여사가 작은 불 켜줘. 엘리자베스도 누가 그렇게 해주면 되지 않아? It is okay, Daddy. I am scared of the dark, but Mrs. Kim puts a small light on for me. Maybe Elizabeth just needs someone to put a small light on for her. Hyun-soo looked at his son for a long, still moment. Then he reached for his phone. 4:07 a.m. Elizabeth was already awake, sitting on the edge of her bed in the dark. Not from a nightmare, just from the specific wakefulness of a person whose mind has been working against them for 3 days straight. Her phone lit up the entire room. Lim Hyun-soo. It rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. 4. She picked up. His voice came through low and stripped of every performance. No mansion in it. No empire. I know what time it is. Then you know decent people are sleeping, Mr. Lim. I know you are not sleeping. Silence. He was right. They both knew he was right. I am not calling to pressure you. I am calling because at 4 in the morning there are no performances. Just me asking for 1 hour. Somewhere you choose. Somewhere neutral. 1 cup of coffee. That is not a good idea. Probably not. A beat. But Min Seo asked tonight if you had traveled. He asked if you were lost. Elizabeth stared at the far wall of her dark room. He said maybe you just need someone to put a small light on for you. Her breath caught. Just slightly. Just enough. I am not asking to be anything you do not want me to be. Just one honest conversation. Not a mafia boss. Not a soldier. 1 hour. The room was very quiet. There is a small cafe, Yeongdo District, overlooks the harbor, opens at 6 a.m. I know it. I will be there first. I am not waiting if you are late. She heard, barely, the ghost of something in his voice. Not quite a smile. Something quieter and more careful than that. I will be early. And Hyun-soo, yes. Come alone. Agreed. She hung up. Sat in the dark room with the phone in both hands. What are you doing, Elizabeth Mensah? No answer came. Just Busan sleeping quietly outside the window. And somewhere across this city, a 4-year-old boy who had decided everything before any adult had the courage to. 6 a.m. Yeongdo District. The harbor was doing that thing it does in early morning, sitting completely flat and silver, like the water hadn't decided yet what kind of day it wanted to be. Cold, light, empty streets. The cafe windows fogged slightly from the warmth inside. Elizabeth pushed the door open. Hyun-soo was already there. Corner table. Back to the wall. The instinct of a man who never sits with his back exposed. 2 cups of coffee waiting, steam still rising from both. She looked at the cups, then at him. I said I would be here first. You said come alone. I came alone. He pulled the chair opposite him slightly away from the table. An invitation, not a command. Sit down, Elizabeth. She sat, wrapped both hands around her cup, looked at the harbor through the glass for a moment, letting the warmth of the ceramic settle into her palms. He set his cup down. I am going to say something. I need you to hear all of it before you respond. She nodded once. He told her about Min Seo before she came. Barely speaking at dinner. Nightmares arriving 3 times a week like clockwork. Stopped drawing entirely. Moved through the mansion like a small ghost. Present in body. Somewhere else completely in spirit. Then he told her about Min Seo after. Lava floors. Kimchi jollof passwords that he made her repeat 17 times until the pronunciation was perfect. Drawings carried to school and shown to his teacher with the pride of someone presenting evidence. A boy who woke up in the morning with energy that had somewhere to go. He woke up 4 days ago, and the first word out of his mouth was your name. Not good morning, not daddy. Your name. He paused, looked at his coffee, then back at her. I am asking you to be a mother to my son and his protector, because you proved in one morning what my entire operation could not. You saw him. You moved. You brought him back. Come and stay with us, as part of this family. The harbor sat flat and silver, beyond the window. Inside Elizabeth's chest, a storm she kept completely off her face. This is ridiculous. This is not what wanting a child looks like. You have been through this. You know exactly how this particular hope feels when it arrives, and you know precisely how it feels when it leaves. You cannot survive losing a child who was never biologically yours. You know that. You have done the math on that specific pain already, and the answer is no. She looked at Hyun-soo's face, completely open, no performance in it anywhere. Just a father asking for something he had never asked another living person for. She could see that clearly. Men like him do not ask. They arrange, they acquire, they command. This was none of those things. This was just a man sitting in a harbor cafe at 6 a.m. asking plainly. And underneath all the noise, one question she could not answer cleanly. When was the last time something felt this specifically like it was supposed to happen? I will think about it. Take the time you need. You will not regret saying yes. I will make sure of that personally. She stood, pulled her jacket straight. I said, I will think about it, Mr. Lim. Not yes. He looked up at her. Something almost like amusement. Almost. I know the difference. She sat with it for days. Then she went to her uncle. Colonel Mensah listened without a single interruption. Hands folded on the table, face giving nothing away until she finished. Then 1 full minute of silence, the kind he used when he was actually thinking rather than preparing to speak. Give it a try, Elizabeth. She blinked. That world is dangerous. You know it, and I know it. But that little boy chose you from the back of a van, before you chose anything. Some things are worth paying attention to. I am giving myself 2 weeks. If one thing feels wrong, I stop everything. He nodded. Come back safe. Always do. That night, she sat on the edge of her bed with her phone, typed something, deleted it, typed again, deleted that too. She was a woman who could extract a child from a moving kidnapping operation in under 4 minutes, but apparently could not write a single sentence without second-guessing it 6 times. Finally. Simple. Final. Yes. I accept. Sent before her nerve broke. His reply came back in under a minute, which told her he had been waiting, which told her more than the words did. Tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Come as you are. Then a second message, arriving just after. Thank you, Elizabeth. Not Miss Mensah. Not a formal acknowledgement. Not the language of transaction. Thank you, Elizabeth. She set the phone face down on the bed, looked at the ceiling, and in the privacy of her dark room, with nobody watching, nobody to perform composure for, she smiled. Small and real and terrified and completely hers. 9 a.m. Outside the iron gates, one bag on her shoulder, military neat, running shoes on, because she had come as she was exactly as he asked. The Busan morning was bright and sharp, sunlight cutting clean angles across the stone walls. She breathed once. The gates opened, and she saw it. Red. A deep, royal red carpet rolled from the gate all the way to the front door. Every inch of it precise and deliberate, and leading directly to where she needed to go. And on both sides of it, every single one of Hyun-soo's bodyguards, standing in two perfect lines the full length of the carpet. The same men who had surrounded her in silence on her first day. Stone-faced, immovable. The men who protected the most dangerous operation in Busan. One by one, they bowed, deep, unified, respectful, every head down at the same moment. Elizabeth stood at the gate, a Ghanaian woman, in Busan, on a red carpet, with armed bodyguards bowing in formation on both sides of her. She kept her face composed through sheer military discipline, back straight, chin level, eyes forward, and walked. Each step steady and unhurried, the way she walked everywhere, like she belonged exactly where she was. Because she did. Because she had always walked like that, even when everything in her life was falling apart. It was not arrogance. It was just Elizabeth Mensah. It was just who she had always been. She reached the front step, and there they were, Hyun-soo in the doorway, dark suit, hands clasped in front of him, watching her walk the full length of that carpet toward him with an expression she had never seen on his face before. Not the cold boardroom mask, not the careful control, just quiet, still, like a man watching something arrive that he had stopped believing was possible. Beside him, Min Seo, hair neatly combed, both hands clasped in front of him, mirroring his father exactly. Holding himself completely, tremblingly still with the tremendous effort of a 4-year-old who had been practicing patience for 45 minutes and had approximately 4 seconds left in reserve. Elizabeth reached the step. She looked at them both. 1 second. That was all Min Seo had. Every last molecule of practiced patience evaporated in a single breath, and he ran, arms already open, small legs giving everything, and crashed into her with his whole body, both arms wrapping around her completely, face pressed against her, not letting go, not even slightly. Yama, Amma, mother, mother, mother. Elizabeth dropped to her knees on the red carpet, arms going around him, pulling him fully against her chest. Her eyes closed. 1 tear ran down her face, just one. In the Busan morning sunshine, she didn't stop it. She didn't try. She held this boy, this child who had chosen her through van glass before she had chosen anything, who had pushed away his food and waited at windows, who had drawn 3 people holding hands in crayon and carried it to school like proof of something he already knew. And something in the deepest part of that hollow place inside her filled, quietly, without announcement, completely. Hyun-soo stood in the doorway above them. Not complicated this time. No ghost, no grief from old rooms, just the clean, simple weight of something being right. He smiled. A real one. Unhurried and unguarded and entirely his own. Elizabeth Mensah came to Busan running from grief. She had lost a marriage, lost 4 pregnancies, lost the exact future she had planned in careful detail. She was not looking for a family that morning. She was not looking for anything except 1 quiet hour to herself on an empty street. And then a boy pressed his hands against glass. What grows between these 3 people, a Ghanaian soldier, a Korean Mafia boss, and a 4-year-old boy who decided everything before any adult had the courage to, is a story about love finding you not when you are ready, but when you are real. But somewhere in Busan, Nare is watching, still planning, because the woman who just walked through those gates on a red carpet has no idea that the reason Min Seo was in that van was his own mother. And when that truth surfaces, everything changes.
And if you made it here, all the way from that van window to that red carpet, then you already know this story is not done. Nare is out there. She knows what Elizabeth means to that boy now. And that makes Elizabeth the most dangerous kind of target, one who doesn't even know she's being hunted yet. Part 2 is coming. Subscribe so you don't walk into it blind. And if this story hit you somewhere real, leave a comment. Tell me what you felt when a 4-year-old boy who had never properly known his own mother looked up at a stranger from Ghana and said, Iama, mother. The one word Elizabeth had spent 3 years of grief, 4 losses, and 1 broken marriage never getting to hear. A child said it in 3 seconds flat. I'll see you in the next one.